Hello students. Today I'm going to discuss you about the now I'm now I'm going to discuss you about the FRM subject, that is the first elective of your third semester. Till now what we have discussed is all about in my last class what I have discussed about the ALM and the RBI guidelines on ALM process, management of interest rate risk. We have also discussed about the gap analysis, rate shift scenario, simulation, duration and sensitivity. Gap is basically they going to calculate the duration of assets and liabilities. Okay. Rate adjusted approach was like just all the rate sensitive assets and liabilities were adjusted with the weights, risky weights, and the difference of assets and liabilities were considered to check the risk for interest rate risk assets. I have done a problem in my last class of duration. Simulation also I have started teaching, I guess. So I'll repeat it again. Simulation process help to analyze the potential effects of interest rate changes on the current earnings and on the economic value of a credit institution. So economic value will be affected. It facilitates risk exposure calculation with a high degree of accuracy and flexibility even for complex portfolios. Because you will be selecting interest rates fluctuations. You will be checking out the what are the major reasons for affecting the interest rate fluctuations or on the current earnings and all. That will be taken care with a high degree of accuracy and flexibility. Even though our difficult portfolios and our big securities and all are being taken care, simulation plays a very important role. Basically they are divided into two, static and dynamic. In static approach, it was like on and off balance sheet position of current periods were valued. Whereas in dynamic approach, what you do is in the dynamic simulation method, you make an assumption about the future, and depending upon that, how interest rates will react or the sudden changes will happen in the operation or bank operations, that will be measured under the dynamic situation. Uh, the various types of interest rates that has been affected in the dynamic situation or simulation is rate level risk, volatility risk, reinvestment basis risk, clear interest rate risk, and call and put risk, prepayment risk. This I have already discussed in my last class, so I'm not going to repeat it again. If you want, you can go through my previous video. Next is net interest margin. There's another topic. One of the purpose of interest rate hedging is to protect the interest rate margin. Net interest margin means here the limits will be set for the interest rates also. The bank's management should hold a fixed interest net interest margin to cushion the bank profits against severe interest rate fluctuations. There should not be much fluctuations in the interest rate. That sort of management has to be uh, taken place, so that the bank profits also should not be affected. So basically net interest margin is equal to net interest income divided by total earning assets. Total earning assets, basically net interest income means the incomes, the difference between the incomes or revenues from loans minus the interest income from the investment on the expenses and the deposits and other borrowed funds. Basically the difference between the in one word what I can say is the difference between the incomes and the expenses. That is what is net interest income by total earning assets. Let's do a problem on this. MHL is an international bank in the United States. It reports $10 billion in the interest revenues from its loans and security investments and $6.7 billion in its interest expenses. Incurred to attract borrowed funds. If the bank's total earning assets are worth $65 billion, calculate the bank's net interest margin. So here you can check it out. The question that has been given is MHL is an international bank in the United States. It reports $10 million in the interest revenues from its loan and security investment. Okay, so revenues are being collected are 10 billion, whereas the 6.7 billion in its interest expenses. So the bank's total earning assets are 65 billion. Calculate the net interest margin, he is saying. So over here it will be like the formula for net interest margin is net interest income divided by total earning assets. So here it will be like basically interest income is nothing but the difference between interest income and interest expenses. So we are going to write down over here is interest income minus interest expenses divided by the total earning assets. So here how much it will be? 10 million. 10 billion is a revenue and 6.7 billion is an expense. So over here is equal to $10 billion minus $6.7 billion divided by 65 billion. Total earnings are 65 billion. You just need to substitute. It will be like 5.08% is the net interest margin. Okay, this is what it is. He is asking us to calculate the net interest margin. So it is nothing but net interest income divided by total earning assets. So basically net interest income will be calculated by interest income minus interest expenses divided by total earning assets. So 10 billion minus 6.7 billion divided by 67 billion. Okay, so this is how you need to calculate the bank interest margin. Let's move on to the next topic now. Credit risk management. So credit risk management is like basically any organization face risk of cash flows, right? When in an organization, like in a contract, if any one of the party fails to perform the duty, it is a credit risk or a default risk. So when banks and all, they deal with lot many customers in a day-to-day manner. So when they deal with different customers, they need to take care of the risk that is arising out of the situation also. So that management also has to be done, because when they deal with different sort of people, they give loan, they do work on behalf of the customers also, they provide all sort of services. So ALM, under ALM, asset liability management, as another technique which is being used for managing the default risk on behalf of the on part of the parties, that is nothing but credit risk management. There are basically two approaches. When there is a credit risk is basically non-payment of due money by either of the party. As I have given in the example in my previous classes, already the buyer and the seller, when the buyer is not able to pay amount on time and the seller is not able to supply the raw materials on time, so it's nothing but they have failed their duties, their obligations. So when anything such things happen, that is nothing but credit risk. Therefore, to control the problems of credit risk, bank have to be very careful. Have to implement a formal credit risk management. Okay, that is been divided into two. There are two approaches: micro level and macro level. So, while the credit risk management at micro level, slowly it is dependent on, it is focused on each credit transaction, small credit transaction that will be taken care under the micro level. Whereas in the macro, it takes into consideration the total exposure of the bank that will be considered and taken care as such. Let's talk about the pricing now. In micro, uh, let me tell you about the micro. It involves a careful selection of borrowers when understanding the credit worthiness. So how the people, like if I want to take go and take a loan from the bank, they will not just give you like that only. They check out your property, bank balance, everything. If you are able to repay back, they check out your credit worthiness also, how good you are to repay back their debts. That they are going to check, and they are going to give you the, they are going to lend you the money as such. So while giving the loans and all, they have to consider various variables like industry prospect. If you are from a manufacturing industry or a car manufacturing industry or a cloth manufacturing industry, depending upon that, the operational efficiency, how good your employees are, they are able to operate, they are able to manufacture and all that things will be taken care. Financial efficiency, the repaying capacity of yours, how good you are, how what is the credit worthiness of yours, that all will be checked, and credit will be given as such. So pricing is basically done. It is the necessary part, because to for given level of risk, appropriate pricing policy has to be taken care. So expected return is equal to P1 into P into R divided by P plus P2 into P into 1 plus R divided whole R divided by P minus 1. So P1 is nothing but the probability of repayment. P2 is nothing but probability of default. R is the interest rate. P is the principal amount. R is the recovery rate as such. So problems on this also we are going to do in my coming classes as such. So another point, this was about micro level for individual person. What is the repaying capacity, probability of repayment, probability of default, and all will be checked. The principal amount and all will be checked in the expected returns. The micro level. Whereas in macro level, car is being used. Banks and all, they use this, and it's a very popular one among the bankers. Capital adequacy ratio. This has to be maintained properly, because it measures the total credit exposure of the bank as such. It's a macro level of approach. Let's discuss about the capital adequacy in my next slide. Capital adequacy ratio sets standards for banks by looking bank's ability to pay liabilities and respond to credit risk and operational risk. A bank that has a good car has enough capital to absorb potential losses. So thus it has less risk of becoming insolvent and losing depositors' money. Okay, so the capital adequacy ratio sets standards for banks by looking at bank's ability to pay liabilities and respond to credit risk and operational risk. So what is the capital of the bank? So basically, this all the methods what we are discussing is it's about risk management in banks. VAR, CAR, this is another car. Cash flow at risk, it was, this is capital adequacy ratio. Don't get confused over here. The different ALM risk management techniques are what we have discussed: interest rate risk, liquidity rate risk. Today we are going to talk about the credit risk. How if a party is been at default, how we are going to do that? That was at macro level and macro level. Micro level was just what I have shown you, the pricing capacity. That is only one party is there. What's the principal amount? What's the loan that is being taken? What's the interest rate that has been fixed? Everything will be decided, and then the loan will be given as such under the micro and macro level. It's like here also it's like managing a risk only, but by looking at the bank ability to pay liabilities, how the bank is responding to credit risk, operational risk. The bank that has a good car has enough capital to absorb potential class of losses. If the company, if the bank is able to, if it has a good car, a maximum limit is 8%. 8%, I guess. If the company ideal percentage of capital, the adequacy ratio is 8% of their assets. If it is 8% of their assets, it is said that it is very good enough car to observe the potential losses. So that means it has a risk of becoming insolvent and losing depositors money. So after the financial crisis in 2008, the Bank of International Settlement began setting strict car requirements to protect depositors' assets. So you can say it as a capital requirement or a banking regulation which sets a framework on how banks and depository institutions must handle capital assets. So it's basically a bank's financial strength in long term at measures varies by industry also. So according to capital adequacy standards set up by Bank for International Settlement, bank must have a primary capital base equal at least 8% of their assets. So basically, CAR is a legal requirement that financial institutions such as banks and fund managers should maintain a certain level of available capital to meet their liabilities as such. So basically, if I want to give the definition for CAR is a measure of bank's capital. It is expressed as percentage of bank's risk-weighted credit exposures. So basically this ratio is used to protect depositors and protect the stability and efficiency of financial system around the world. So the minimum amount of capital that banks, non-bank financial intermediaries and whether financial market operations must maintain proportion to the risk to what they assume will be measured under the capital adequacy ratio as such. So capital requirements are put in place to ensure that these institutions are not participating or holding investment, because they increase the risk of default and they have enough capital to sustain operating losses with still honoring the withdrawal. So a vital element of work of an industry regulator is to ensure that firms operating in the industry are prudently managed. How good they are managed, how banks are able to manage themselves. If there is a shortfall or if there is a surplus in the money assets, how they are able to protect themselves. Basically, the main aim is to protect the firms themselves, customers, and the economy by establishing the proper rules and regulations as is the principles as such. Basel Accord is nothing but the banking rules that has been introduced. Basel committee is there who has given the banking supervision houses at the Bank of International Settlement. Their work is to set a framework on how banks and depositories institutions must calculate their capital assets. So in 1998, the committee decided to introduce a capital measurement system commonly referred to as Basel I. So a minimum amount of capital has to be maintained by all the banks, so that they should be able to absorb the losses also that are exposing from the market as such. So Basel, the committee in 1998, the Bank of International Settlement also, they have decided to introduce a minimum capital that has to be maintained by all the banks. Okay, that measurement system is nothing but Basel 1, and it has been replaced by a significantly more complex capital adequacy framework known as Basel 2. So in 2010-11 also, Basel 3 has been introduced, a global regulatory standard where a minimum capital has to be maintained. Basel 3 also uh, introduced because of new regulatory requirements on banking liquidity and bank leverage, because they need to deal with lot many cashes daily. They have to be very careful regarding the leverage system as well as the requirements that are needed by the customers at the time of deposits or the receipts as such. So basically, here this is the formula that has been that it is CAR is equal to tier 1 capital plus tier 2 capital divided by risk weighted assets. So tier 1, tier 2, these are the two capitals to measure the risk, as well as to a certain capital has to be maintained by the bank's assets. So these are the tier 1 capital and tier 2 capital. A limit will be there. So tier 1 consists of largely shareholders equity and reserves. Retained earnings are nothing but the reserves of the company, what you keep, so that any uncertainty comes, you are going to use it. As shareholders equity is nothing but the owner's equity itself, whereas the retained earnings means the reserves that will be coming from the outsiders and all that, the reserves which you keep, so that if any losses uncertainties come, you are going to use these reserves as such. Whereas tier 2 consists of undisclosed reserves, revaluation reserves, general provisions, hybrid instruments, and subordinate term debts. So reserves over here means it could be debentures. Under tier 2, it could be debentures, debts, loans, bonds, and all these are completely the outsider securities. Outsiders means you take a loan from the outside party. Debentures are nothing but a long term loan which you take from outside party. That could be bank or a customer, anybody it could be. So you take basically a loan from the outside. Basically you take a loan from the outside party over here. So tier 1 capital and tier 2 capital by divided by risk weighted assets. So how much risk is there, that percentage also will be there with the capital adequacy ratio. Let's do a problem on this. Calculate CAR from the following information. Bank A's tier 1 capital and tier 2 capital and risk associated with their risk assets are as follows. Tier 1 bank is $3,000, tier 2 is $1,000. The source are nothing but the risk weighted assets are debentures $9,000. The risky of debenture is 90%, mortgage is $45,000. The risk weight is 75%. Loan from government is $4,000. The risk is 0% and such. So let's do this problem. So here you can check out the question. Calculate CAR from the following information. Bank capital has been given. Tier 1 capital, tier 2 capital, and risk associated with both of them. So let's take this question and do this problem. Let me write down the formula first of all. car is equal to tier 1 capital plus tier 2 capital divided by risk weighted asset. So under the question, tier 1 capital, what he has given? Tier 1 capital is been given as 3000. So it is nothing but tier 2 capital he has given as 1000. So you're going to take in the numerator 3000 plus 1000 divided by risk weighted assets. Now risk weighted assets, you need to calculate that. You need to calculate the risk weighted assets. Now that will do. What are the assets he has given you? Debentures 9000, mortgage 45,000, and simultaneous 90 and 75% is the thing. Percentages, you need to calculate the risk percentage, you need to take out of it. So basically debentures are $9,000 into 90%, and mortgage is another loan which you take on the property and all. Okay, 45,000, this was 90,000, right? 9,000 45,000 into 75%. Another one is government loan, $4,000. This has been given as 0. You can check out over here. Last been given as 0. So you need to just calculate the percentages and add them. Is equal to 9,000 into 90%. It will come to $8,100. Next is 45,000 to 75%. $33,750. And this is nothing but basically 0. So you need to add them. So it will come to $41,850. So now here you are going to take $41,850. That will come to 10%. So now basically under car, the minimum car that has to be maintained by the banks is 8%, but here it is 10% we got car. That means it has enough capital to cushion their potential losses and protect the deposits as such. So that means it has enough money to safeguard themselves if at all any losses also comes to the banks and all, because their liquidity also plays a very important role. So here I hope it is clear to. What we have done is we have taken a car asset, that is tier 1 capital and tier 2 capital. That is nothing but you have to take the weights of them, 3000, 1000. That has been given in the question, and is asking us to calculate the minimum car that the company has maintained. So we have taken the risk weighted assets as well, debentures, mortgage and government loan. You have to take out the percentages and you need to total it up them. That will be the denominator value 41,850. Tier 1 capital, tier 2 capital, that's already been given in the question, 3000 and 1000. Add them and keep them on the numerator. You will get the value 10%. So basically the minimum CAR that the banks and all has to maintain is capital adequacy ratio that the banks and all has to maintain is 8%. If they go beyond this, they'll face risk as such. So this is the here in this question it's a 10% we got cut. So that means that they have enough capital to safeguard themselves to face the risk also to overcome the potential losses also they have enough capital with them. Okay, so that means the A's position is good over here. Okay. The another method is liquidity risk management. We have already discussed so much about this in the RBI guidelines where the buckets is being introduced. Two days, 2 to 14 days, 14 to 28 days, 28 to 60 days, 60 to 90, 90 to 180. We have discussed. So we have discussed so much of this buckets and all that has to be maintained by RBI guidelines has been given. So uh, liquidity risk is basically conversion of anything into money assets. The bank's capacity. Here we are talking about banking risk management system only. So here also that plays an important. What I'll do is I'll wind up the class today so that I'll start a fresh thing in the next class. See you all guys. Bye.